Hi, Cutie Pies, it's Lanikia, and I'm coming to you with season one, the recap review of The Prodigal Son. I don't know when this is going to come back out for season two, but I'm glad it got renewed because it's a great show. I like the detective shows that are kind of like Criminal Minds, kind of like Psych, and that to me this show is like the perfect mixture of both of those. Um, so my thoughts on this show is just that. They're at their very best when they have a murder and they work the case. The junkyard killer episode where it was more about Malcolm's family and everything, I don't like that episode. I didn't like those episodes. I didn't even like the last two episodes of the season. I like when they're working the case and then we get bits and pieces of his background with his family and everything. So Malcolm is the son of Martin and Jessica. Um, the surgeon who's a serial killer. I'm just going to give a whole review recap and just wrap this up. So we find out that Martin, the whole thing is about Malcolm remembers this girl in a box, and he's like, "Where is this girl in the box?" So the whole conclusion of this and getting to the last episode is, where is she? Is she alive? Is she dead? What happened to her? So we go through the whole season trying to figure that out. And, Martin, who's in prison, we find out that he got this cushy deal because of the man named Nicholas. You got to remember his name. So we find out he got this cushy deal because of Nicholas. And then we find out that Malcolm starts dating this girl named Eve. So all these pieces are connected, and we're just watching this show, not realizing that they're all connecting. But it's really cute. So then we learn more about Danny and JT and all of them. So as I'm speaking, I'm trying to think about how I'm going to break this down. Okay, look, I'm just going to go to the last episodes. So Martin he had this cushy deal where he had a phone in prison. He had his own private suite in prison. He had, books and he could watch TV and he had all of this stuff. But it all starts getting taken away. And it all starts getting taken away after he has a visit with Malcolm and Eve. Now Eve, we find out, is the girl in the box's sister, and she and Malcolm have started dating, and which that felt completely rushed to me. But they've started dating, and it only felt rushed because they were like, oh my gosh, they had all these huge emotions for each other, but we had only seen them together on two episodes and briefly or whatever. And anyways, so he takes her to meet his father to get more information on what happened to the girl in the box, what happened to her sister. And so we find out that the girl in the box is alive. She was not murdered. She was not one of his, victims. And she's like, that's can't, and he was like, that can't be true because why have I don't know where she is. That can't be true. You had to murder her because she would have found me. And Martin is just like, I don't know what happened, but y'all need to leave this alone because certain things you just need to leave alone. But Eve is like, I'm going to find her. You're lying. If she was alive, she would have reached out to me and everything. So we find out that Martin. So we find out he didn't kill her and everything, and so they leave it at that. While that's going on, Jessica has met this new man called Nicholas, and he's super wealthy, very successful, gives to charity. On paper, he looks amazing, but we find out that the reason Martin got this cushy deal in prison is because he blackmailed Nicholas because of the girl in the box. She wasn't even scared of Martin because she said, "Listen, I know someone who's worse than you." Like, who's worse than you? And she starts telling him about Nicholas and all the things that Nicholas does. Um, and so and so Martin blackmails Nicholas and tells Nicholas, I'm going to, if you don't help me, then I'm going to expose you. And so that's how he got this nice little play where he is in prison. Now, the only problem with that is as long as Martin kept his mouth shut, he would always have it. But because Malcolm and Eve and everyone has started looking into the case, and Martin did let them know that the girl in the box was not dead, his privileges have been taken away. So now instead of being in his cushy little place, he's now in Gen Pop. And Nicholas has put a bounty on his head. So, it's only a matter of time before they try to kill him because they want to get the privileges, that come with that, of taking Martin out for Nicholas. Anywho, so then so that's the whole thing going on there with them. So and Jessica finds out, but before that, Eve goes to look for her sister, right? So she's going to look for her sister, and then we find out that Eve has been murdered. We don't know how she's been murdered, but we find out she has been. Excuse me, we don't know who murdered her, but we find out that she has been, and that she got to spend a few days with her sister, and then she was killed. And so then we learn that the guy who, because once Martin started losing his privileges, one of his privileges was that the guard who's always been there, they're like, oh, he's sick right now, so he has a new guard, and so they come to the conclusion that, oh my gosh, it's the guard who's done it. He's the one who they find out that the guard is working for Nicholas. So they go in and they see the guard killing Martin, and Martin is dying, like he's getting choked out. And then all of a sudden Nicholas calls him dad, and Martin wins and he gouges his eyes out. And the guard name is Eddie. He's a hitman that they have put in there to pretend to be the guard. And so then they find out that he's the one who also killed Eve. So not only was he hired to kill Martin, he was also hired to kill Eve. And so, excuse me. So Eddie has to go to the hospital. Martin doesn't kill him, but he takes his eyes out. So he has to go to the hospital and all of that. And he's recovering at the hospital. And while he's doing that, he finds out Malcolm knows that he killed Eve and all that. So he goes in, and he was really going in there to kill him, but he left. But he didn't do it. But they have DNA of him all over Eddie, so Malcolm is arrested. And they're charging him with the murder of Eddie because they think he did it in revenge for Eve, in revenge for Martin, and all that. So they're charging him with that. While this is going on, we find out that Ainsley goes and sees Martin. Ainsley and Malcolm go and see Martin in prison because Malcolm is on like a house arrest. So he can't really go anywhere, but he's been sneaking off. So he's on like this house arrest, and he goes and they go and see Martin in prison, and he's in Gen Pop. And Martin is terrified and they're like, why are you so afraid? And then Malcolm's like, oh my God, you don't actually have any information on him. Like, so there's no physical evidence that Nicholas, the guy, has been doing any wrongdoing because Nicholas is the monster, with the girl in the box, Eve's sister. And there's no physical evidence that he's been doing any of the stuff that Eve accused him of. They just know he's this monster. And so because of that, that's why Martin doesn't produce anything to keep his little cushy spot and stop Nicholas. And so that's why he had to go to one of the reasons he had to go to Gen Pop. And he's not coming out of Gen Pop. So Martin is terrified because he's like, oh, they're about to kill me in here. And Ainsley tells him, you're the surgeon. You're the smartest man in here. Why don't use your head and figure a way out of this? You're the surgeon. Act like the surgeon would. And she touched him and everything. And it just gives him like, okay, I can do this. I can do this. So, anywho, he tells, so he's talking to them and he's telling Martin is telling Malcolm that the only way to stop Nicholas from destroying them, because that's what his goal is now, that he feels betrayed him, is to destroy their family. He says, the only way you're going to do it is to kill him. And Ainsley Malcolm, tells Martin, Malcolm is not a killer. He can't do that. So that's pretty much it. They're just going to try to find evidence on Nicholas to try to, stop him from hurting their family, because they know he's the one who set up Malcolm to take the fall for Eddie. They know, like, he purposely started dating Jessica so he got in with the family because he started dating Jessica or whatever. Because he told Martin he was going to do all these things. He was like, I'm going to sleep with your wife. I'm going to take your family down and all that. And he told him he's going to do all that if Martin ever, betrayed him and revealed who he was. And of course, Martin told Eve. And so all of this stuff happens. It's starting to happen. So with that, they leave because they're like, okay, you can't help us. So they leave and they're trying to work things and everything. So then what happens is Jessica goes and she tries to meet up with Nicholas because he doesn't know that she knows he's a monster yet. So she tries to meet up with Nicholas and record him because she wants to get information out of him. But while she's doing that, Gil comes because Gil they're starting to tell him that they're telling him that, Nicholas is no good. So they know Nicholas is no good. Gil, JT, Danny, they just can't prove it. So while they're trying to prove that Nicholas is no good, Malcolm lets Gil know what Jessica has planned to go over there. And so Gil goes over there to Nicholas' house to get Jessica back. But ends up getting attacked while he's over there. So now he's hurt, and they're carrying his body out, the bodyguard, so that they can go ahead and finish the job and kill him and everything. But Jessica is there, and she runs out, and she saves Gil and takes him to the hospital so they can perform surgery and everything on him to try to save his life. Here you go, Mama. To try to save his life. And so that's that, because Gil and Jessica, they have feelings for each other, but she always chose the wrong man because she always felt that she wasn't good enough for Gil or whatever. So there's that. So then we find out that Ainsley sends Malcolm a text message, and it pretty much is telling him to get home. So when he goes, but before he goes home, went and he actually found the girl in the box. He found Eve's sister, and she tells him, she's a vet, and she's been living this quiet life, and the reason she didn't contact Eve is because she knew that if she did, that would be like Nicholas would find her, and he would put Eve in trouble. And so that's when we find out that Eve was able to find her. They had a few days together, and then she was murdered, and everything. So, even though, and that's when we also find out the person who murdered Eddie, because we thought that it was Nicholas setting them up, but actually it was Eve. That's who came into the hospital room, and she murdered Eddie for murdering her sister. Not Eve, excuse me, it was the girl in the box who murdered Eddie for murdering her sister. So we find out that information. And Nicholas, he could take that to the police to free his name, but he won't, because he's like, you lost, you were with a monster. Then my father found you or whatever. And then you found your sister, and then you lose her to, like, she has so much tragedy in her life. He's just like, I'm going to have to find another way to get myself off, because remember, he's on for the murder of Eddie. But he's like, I'm not going to betray you or turn you in to have to deal with that. So he's just gonna find another way to take Nicholas down. So then we go back to, he gets a text message from his sister, and she tells him to come home. So he goes home, and she's there with Nicholas. So Nicholas is just pretty much telling him, like, I'm gonna get away with all of this. It doesn't matter what information you have on me. I have enough judges. I have enough lawyers. I have enough people on my team to get away with all of this. And he does. And so Malcolm is so upset. He pulls out a gun on Nicholas to, like, he's going to kill him and everything. But Nicholas tells him, like, you're like Jessica. You're not like the surgeon. You're like Jessica. You're all bark but no bite, and everything. But Ainsley is not. And so the next thing you know, he's bragging about how he's gonna get away with it, and then the next thing you know, like, Ainsley's pulling his head back, and like she does the deed, and at the same time as that's happening in prison, Martin is there, and he had started like this whole prison riot because the guy because in prison I guess they have this one person who's over, kind of over it, the toughest in there, and Martin found out that there's something wrong with him, and he was like, I'm a surgeon, I can help you get that, taken care of. And so he was like, okay, I'm gonna keep you alive just so you can help me with that. And so he tells the people, no, don't touch him. But this one guy is like, no, I'm gonna do it because I want, the privileges that Nicholas, I guess, has offered. And so he starts this huge prison riot, and he got a phone, and he calls Malcolm at the same moment that they're doing all of this with Nicholas, and he's like, my boy, I took y'all's advice and everything, and I'm the surgeon. I took Ainsley's advice, and Malcolm's like, she took your advice, and so by killing Nicholas, and he's like, my girl, and that was like the first time like he really acknowledged her as his. I mean, he was always proud of her as his child and everything, but it was always something special that he felt about Malcolm. Like, he would always call him my boy, but now he's like my girl because she is more, I guess, like him than Malcolm is, because Malcolm couldn't do it, even though he knew Nicholas had did all of these wrong things. He just could not bring himself to murder, and to kill someone. And Ainsley's like, listen, like, he's gonna take our family down if this isn't done. So she ends up doing it, and so I guess that's what we're gonna pick up on season 2. Just that whole period. There's other things about the show that I like JT. We find out he has a wife and they have a child on the way. Danny, we found out that she had went undercover and she was addicted to drugs and everything. Um, Risa, we find out why that she gets really nervous when she has to actually like work on the human body and work on the human body. So that's why she takes care of every the corner and everything. That's she likes to do that part of it. But she's super intelligent, and it's funny her little crush on Malcolm and everything. Um, I don't know. I like this show. I like it better when they just do straight talk about the murders and then give a little bit of a past episode and then that's it. But like the last 2 episodes in the Junkyard Killer. To me, those were not the best episodes, but I get it that they had to let us know that. But I'm like, where are y'all gonna go from here? Because now we know about the girl in the box. Like, what happens from here? What's gonna happen with Ainsley? What's gonna happen from here, like that? Because I thought the whole thing was they might last a few seasons and then we'll find out, oh, this is what happened to the girl in the box, but now we know. So I don't know, I still like the show. It's a really great show. I think if you like you know criminal shows, then this would be one of those. It's almost a bit of a horror, but this would, because of the things that they have like happened to them, like cutting off hands and all that kind of stuff. But if you like these type of shows, I think this is one of them that you should definitely check out. It's the Prodigal Son. It comes on Fox, I think, on Monday nights. I don't know when season 2 is going to come out, but if you haven't watched season 1, you can watch it on Hulu. So I guess that's my recap and review. Overall, it was a really great show. Some things they rushed, like the whole Malcolm's relationship with Eve. I thought that was really rushed. Telling Danny's story felt really rushed in one episode. Um, and Eve being there and then she's being murdered, and then when Nicholas comes along, all that kind of felt really run. Like, they just, okay, let's hurry up and get this done because this is the last episode where we're going to end it with Ainsley murdering Nicholas. But it just felt like they rushed all of that to get to that point. So I don't know. You guys tell me what you think. I hope you have a great rest of your day.